Hello, welcome to Melanin and Albino Live. I am Lady Abimbola. Welcome to today's blog. On the 28th of March 2020, I was physically assaulted by two Italian police agents at the Marghera police station at Via Consen's police station. They assaulted me in the residence, which I abided while I was on lockdown like every other person. These residents have been there for a while now, and I have diligently paid my rents without default. Well, during the pandemic, during the lockdown, they requested that I should pay double rent. Of course, which I refused. I insisted I was going to continue to pay the rent I have been paying and not double. Most people found it difficult to even meet up their rent, not to talk of to triple or to double it. Well, I actually personally visited different police stations to report the case for them to intervene. I even called the military police at Marghera to the residents to intervene, not to arrest anybody, not to make any report, but just to intervene because I have spoken with them and I don't know what to do. And I don't want a situation whereby I will be embarrassed without any fault of mine. Well, the day the rent expired, they asked me to choose between paying double rent or being exposed to the coronavirus. Why I said being exposed to the coronavirus is because during the lockdown, everywhere was shut. Hotels were shut, residents were shut, houses were shut, agencies were shut, translock vans were shut, everything was shut. Well, I refused and insisted that I had my credit card to pay my rent, but not double. It will be the way I've been paying it. Well, they refused. They called in the police. There was no exchange of bitter words or aggression. There was nothing of such. They called in the law enforcement agent, and the law enforcement agent came. Buongiorno.
Spenga per favore il telefono.
No, io devo registrare questa cosa, però no, voi, questa camera è su di me, io devo registrare.
Però adesso devi spegnere.
No, io devo registrare me perché ci sono. Ieri io sono stato in vostro ufficio,
allora,
ieri.
Così, se
io sono stato in vostro ufficio ieri.
Non alzare la voce con la polizia.
Ok, va bene, io sono in vostro ufficio ieri, io ho bisogno di questa prova, io ho diritto per registrarmi. No, io ho diritto a registrarmi. Io devo registrarmi, se lei faccio, io posso denunciare anche lei per aggressione, ok? Io ho diritto per registrarmi. Sono voi quattro contro di me. Quella live.
Spenga il telefono.
No, io non ho fatto, perché io ho una cosa per difendermi. Io ho qualcosa per difendermi. Ok.
Ho detto spenga il telefono.
Io sono in vostro ufficio ieri.
Spenga il telefono.
Perché?
Spenga il telefono.
No, per lei posso spiegarmi perché?
Spenga il telefono.
E non posso spiegare.
Oh, ma con chi credi?
Ho detto prima
con chi credi di parlare? Con chi credi di parlare? Questa è la polizia, con chi credi di parlare? Con tuo fratello? Non sono né tuo fratello né tuo padre.
Non sgridare a me, ok? Perché ci sono virus adesso.
Dobbiamo andare, dai, spegni questo telefono. Spegni questo cazzo di telefono.
Io sto parlando con
devi spegnere il telefono, adesso.
Io sto parlando con
qualcuno. Roba che dobbiamo venire.
Just be hearing as a testimony.
Spegnere questo telefono. Che dobbiamo andare. Devi venire con noi, dai, spegni questo telefono.
Non mi toccare, perché mi sto attaccando?
Vieni con noi.
Perché sono aggressivo con me? Perché sei aggressivo con me? Perché sei aggressivo con me?
Devi spegnere il telefono, te lo dico.
Per quale motivo? Siete fate il vostro lavoro?
Devi venire con noi.
Va bene, io non spendo il telefono perché io ho bisogno di testimoni.
Sì, adesso
sì, certo.
Spegni questo telefono.
Io non spengo niente, fate il vostro lavoro, io sono su.
Devi venire con noi, spegni il telefono.
Sì. While I was in a panic mood, as you can see in the video, I was really traumatized, terrorized, because of the fact that I was being made to choose two extremely difficult things. I was not going to double my rent for no justification. And I was not also going to be, ejected for no justification. So I found myself, what should I do? Well, when the law enforcement agent came, and after this video, they snatched my phone from me, which I was using to record this video, because they continuously insisted I should switch off the video. They snatched the phone from me. When they snatched the phone from me, they gave me the beating of my life. I had a bruise here, you can see it's healing, and I will show you the picture of the bruise. I had the bruise on my armpit here. I had a bruise on my right leg. They pinned me down to my knee area. I think one leg was on top of my hip area, then towards my knee area, which actually made the muscles over there to inflame. That's why you see the gathering of blood, because given an heavy punch. Anyway, after this whole incident, I was also handcuffed like a criminal. That was actually the first time I've ever had a cuffs on me for no justification. They assaulted me, and the only aggression on that day was by the Italian law enforcement agent at the Via Consenso police station at Marghera, Italy. So basically, I sustained all these bruises. I was traumatized, and I was really terrified because anything can happen. Well, I made a report. The military police downplayed the report. They removed all the aggression, so many things. I'm working on. They didn't remove the aggression. They said, oh, I even received some blows. They didn't specifically say how the blow was orchestrated, because you will give a graphic picture to the judge how it was. Not that, oh, he just received a blow. Maybe they just decided to give me a punch on the chest or whatever. That was not it, So anyway, they tried to downplay the report. I'll give you the update when the time comes. Why I'm telling you this is because of the recent situation that happened in the United States of America, in the city of Minneapolis, about this 46-year-old man, George Floyd, who was brutally murdered by the police. What they did when they pinned him to the ground, when I saw actually saw the sorry about that, I had to get myself together. When I saw the Minneapolis police pin him down, my mind went back to the day they assaulted me. They took the camera away from me, because what happened to George Floyd was a premeditated assault, either to him as a person, or to any black man, or any melanin man, or any melanin person that would fall the victim for that day. The same way, I strongly believe the assault that I received also was a premeditated assault. Now, I can tell the stories because I'm alive. George Floyd lost his life. This is a public lynching without a rope. Enough is enough. As melanin race, we must stop this racist system that has made us to be in the position of vulnerability, to be denied of justice, to be assaulted by any Tom, Dick, and Harry, to be disrespected, and to be of a public ridicule. And as I went towards him, the discussion, was not audible. But thank God to some other cameras around that was able to prove the bullshit stories the police told. They are used to telling bullshit stories. They do something and they want to cover up. The same way in mine, because the police was telling the woman responsible at the residence that covered them up, they covered her up. So they said that, I'm saying it in a public place, and it's going to be repeated in court. Then when they got the man, they pinned him down. While he was on the ground, some things transpired. They took him, they handcuffed him, and when they handcuffed him, they took him across the street. It's just like they wanted to make a public ridicule of him. They never did that. They got him arrested. They actually paraded him across the street for the whole world to see a black man being handcuffed, a melanin man being handcuffed. This is how they degrade the melanin man. This is how they destroy the melanin man. This is how they humiliate the melanin man. This is a man that actually has an history of situation. He was trying to get his life together. No. They don't want any of us getting our lives together. They don't want any of us focused. They don't want any of us actually having a sound mind. It is always a continuous oppression, a continuous persecution, a continuous harassment, a continuous distressful situation. They paraded this African American man. All of a sudden, he slumped, he fell down. What happened? We didn't see, because the camera recording it was far off. Maybe they did something to him. You understand? Because half of the body, we saw half of the body. There were 3 police officers. Half of the body we saw when he slumped down. So what happened with the other half? Maybe they kicked him. Maybe they pushed him. We don't know what happened. We just saw that he fell, but it didn't look like somebody that was not healthy. It looks like a very healthy man. He slumped, and while he was down, in handcuffed, he was unharmed. He was unharmed. They placed their leg on his neck. One of the officers placed his leg on his neck. These police officers, they need to be convicted and get to death penalty. Because if it was a normal citizen or another black person, it would have been in jail before even any discussion. They need to be convicted and get the penalty, the death penalty. He was telling them, it's basically his last word. Floyd died at the hospital. Floyd died at the hospital later on Monday after a white police officer knelt on the 46-year-old man. They knelt on his neck for several minutes, about 10 minutes, as Floyd moaned and yelled, "I can't breathe." 11 times he repeated, "I can't breathe. Please, I can't breathe. My stomach hurts, my neck hurts, everything hurts. They're going to kill me." These disconcerted officers was even laughing, and they put their hand in the narcissistic victorious way. This narcissistic racist system against the melanin race has been shedding blood of the melanin race for years, for centuries, and we're making mockery. Just protest, and nothing happens to it. Yes, we assume the police officers have since been sacked, but that's not enough. The law enforcement agent must know that they are not above the law. When you abuse the law as a law enforcement agent, you pay the price. The photos were shown to the public. The NAACP's Redmond said, highlighting that while it was only one of the officers who pinned Floyd to the ground, all of them were responsible and played a role, because they are accomplices. Actually, an accomplice and somebody that commits a crime, they are actually guilty. Maybe a little bit of leniency, but in this case there should be no leniency, because they are law enforcement. When you say somebody is enforcing law, that means you know the law. You know the fact that what your colleague is doing is wrong. You can tell your colleague that, okay, stay off his neck. Probably you can, he says he's not breathing, stay off his neck. There was nothing stopping them. That does not mean you're challenging other officers. That does not mean you're correcting him in front of people. You're just trying to make him understand. Because if any of them had said that police officer wouldn't have been amongst the one that will be sacked. A cause for concern. Well, when I hear stories like Black Lives Matters. You know what? I feel irritated because it should not even be a point for discussion to say a Black Lives Matters. Why should you say Black Lives Matters when we are equally human? It should not be a point of discussion. It should not. It's almost like a mockery for me. Black Lives Matters? Are we talking about goats, cow? Or we're talking about chicken here? We're talking about human being that has been segregated for centuries, disrespected, abused, misused, assaulted, persecuted, oppressed continuously. Even despite the fact that this has gone on for centuries, for years, for decades, but nobody is actually enforcing laws that would not just to back us up, that would actually bring to justice anyone that violates the fundamental human rights of anyone.
Crucial testimony bearing witness to an ugly reality.
Mama, get up and get in the car right.
Face down on the pavement, crying out for his mother, a police officer's knee to his neck.
My stomach hurts. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. There's some water or something. Please. Please. I can't breathe all the time.
A bystander's cell phone recording Floyd's pleas for precious breath,
They will kill me, man.
capturing those prescient words for those excruciating minutes.
Bro, with your feet on this neck, man, you get off the...
This shed of the melanin blood, it seems not to be ending. It's so much. It saddens me as a person when I see videos like this. When I first heard of it, I was trembling. Black Lives Matters should not be a source of discussion. The source of discussion here is that a public execution was carried out by 4 police officers by the name of Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin, who was an albinoid officer, knelt on Floyd's neck, George Floyd's neck, for about 10 minutes while he was handcuffed, he was face down, he was armless, he was vulnerable to anything that is being done to him on a naked concrete road. Officers Thomas Lane and J. Alexander Quang also helped restrain George Floyd, while officers Tao stood nearby and looked up without doing anything. No compassion for the melanin man. No kind of compassion on a man that has done nothing if it's just a normal control. Why is he being traumatized and dehumanized that way? The incident occurred during an arrest of Floyd in Pardon Hall, a neighborhood south of downtown Minneapolis, and was recorded on cell phone. A neighbor, was recording this incident on the cell phone. That's why most of us have, and that's the video that will be used against the officers in court. The cell phone video by several bystanders, the video recording showing Floyd repeatedly saying, "I can't breathe. Please, I can't breathe. My stomach hurts. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. They're going to kill me." This discouraged and the concerned officers. They were not concerned. He was shouting repeatedly, about 11 times, I believe, he shouted, "I can't breathe," were widely circulated on social media platforms and broadcast by the media. The 4 officers involved were fired. They've been fired. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, is conducting a federal civil rights investigation into the the incident at the request of the Minneapolis Police Department, while the Minnesota Bureau of Criminals Police Department, while apprehensions is investigating whether there were possible violations of Minnesota statutes. Demonstrations and protests that began since the death of George Floyd. The ambulance came. The nurses, the paramedics that came with the ambulance, they actually tried to resuscitate him, but they could not feel any pulse. So they killed him. He died on the spot. They called the ambulance, and when the ambulance came, it was too late to save him. So, though they never declared him dead on the box, but they never found any pulse to actually declare him still alive. But it was now when they got to the hospital, they had to declare him dead. They brought him already dead. This same man, George Floyd, was a 46-year-old African-American man. He was a native of Houston, Texas, where he had attended Yates High School as a multiple sport athlete and graduated in 1993. Floyd was a close friend of retired basketball player Stephen Jackson, whom he had met growing up in Texas. Floyd lived in the St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and had worked in Minneapolis as a restaurant security guard for 5 years. He had recently lost his job, and at the time, I believe during this lockdown, but at the time of his death, due to Minnesota's stay-at-home order during the COVID-19 pandemic, Floyd was a father. He actually is a new father to a beautiful girl. Now, Derek Chauvin, the officer that basically killed him, is only age 44. Was an officer in the Minneapolis Police Department since around 2001. Chauvin was identified as the officer who pinned Floyd to the ground by kneeling on his neck. He has been involved in three officer-involved shootings, one of which was fatal. So this is a psychopathic police officer. This is a bloodthirsty officer, and most probably sadistic officer that is actually power-tasting. Even the Bible says, if you give a foolish man an authority, he would abuse it. But when you give a wise person authority, they are conscious of the fact that as a person in a position of authority, anything they do or they say can actually tremendously affect or destroy somebody's life. Not because they are just human talking, but because they're in a position of power. When an officer calls somebody out of their name, when an officer lies against somebody, when a police officer actually makes slanderous remarks, it is actually well taken in the society because they expect you to be well responsible and know the fact that as you have an authority, anything that comes from your mouth should be respected. This officer involved in this fatal incident that was fatal is Derek Chauvin, as I said. Then this Chinese officer, Tu Tao, officer went through the police academy in 2009 and was hired to a full-time position in 2012. In 2017, Tao had been a defendant in an excessive use of force. He has been a defendant in an excessive use of force lawsuit that was settled out of court for $25,000. Two other officers identified on May 27 as Thomas Lane and J. Alexander Quang were also fired. The initial statement from the police and the paramedics shortly after 8 p.m., where the incident happened, on May 25th, Memorial Day, Minneapolis Police Department officer responded to a forgery in progress on Chicago Avenue. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Only us as a race, the melanin race, can do it. No one can do it for us. Racism is a system against humanity. It's a system inculcated in the mind of man against the melanin race. How long do we lose our men to police brutality? Manipulated, abused permanently, thrown into unemployment, or tortured and mobbed at his workplace, denied of his right to be a man. How long will the melanin women be abused and made to be a trophy to spite the melanin men? Abused and targeted as a sex machine for other races. How long will the melanin children, miseducated, bullied to hate their own race, taught in schools to be self-destructive in order to be accepted in society, but punished for doing the right thing? How long and how long? Well, blessed is the woman or man that breaks the chains that binds the mind. Hunt Park neighborhood of Minneapolis, according to WCC Ho, the implication was that Floyd tried to use forged documents at a nearby deli. According to a co-owner of a Cup Foods, Floyd attempted to use a $20 bill that a staff member identified as a counterfeit money. According to the police, Floyd was in a nearby car and appeared to be under the influence. A spokesman for the police department said the officers ordered him to exit the vehicle, at which point he physically resisted. That is the police version, that he resisted, but based on the video, we never saw him resisting anything. He was just coming out. He obeyed everything they said. According to the Minneapolis police officer, we were able to get the suspect into handcuffs and noted he appeared to be suffering medical distress. When you see somebody suffering of medical distress, is handcuffed, and you still have the audacity to place your leg on his neck. When you know somebody is actually suffering from something, you claim that maybe it's physically, you claim it's medical distress. How prudent is that? Officers called for an ambulance. No weapons were used in the arrest, according to a statement from the Minneapolis police. According to the Minneapolis Fire Department, paramedics moved George Floyd from the location and were doing chest compressions and other life-saving measures on an unresponsive, pulseless melanin male. George Floyd was then taken to the Hennepin County Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead. Black Lives Matter. It should not be a source of discussion. Instead, we need to tear down a system that has been formed against us. The racist system is the modern day KKK procedure to afflict the melanin people. This has gone on for too long. It is not just demonstration. It is not just for you to fire these 4 police officers. These 4 police officers that was involved in this incident, Derek Chauvin, who was the police, who was identified as the officer who pinned Floyd to the ground, Tao, and Thomas Lane, J. Alexander Quinn. They must all be persecuted. They must be arrested and charged with murder. They must be prosecuted once for public execution. You see, one thing I would say, the melanin has been having so much of a I won't call it nonchalant attitude, but it's been too long. We are, internally we bottle up the anger. Nobody can be mistreated and you like it. Nobody can be abused and you like it. Nobody can be dehumanized and you like it. We bottle up anger and we explode. I think we should start giving back an eye for an eye. Because you see, when somebody has a narcissistic personality disorder, in this case, I believe what the melanin race is up against are individuals who have a narcissistic personality disorder. They don't have compassion. They don't even relate to the problem, to the hurt, to the pain, to the trauma they're causing other people. They slander your character, they want to shame you, they want to humiliate you, they do everything. If they're in the position of authority, you are a dead man walking. Because they violate authority by inventing reports against you. Another life has been taken by an albino race. Well, I will not totally blame the albinoid people this time, because I see albinoids rising for justice. I believe in my heart of hearts, so many albinoids are really tired of this situation. But as long as we keep quiet, they benefit from the racist system. But as long as we keep quiet as a race, they will not talk because they benefit from the racist system, which they call white privilege. But when we begin to attack back, and when I mean attack, I don't mean just talking and lamenting over it and grumbling and mobbing and just, fussing over it. I mean taking every necessary action. Like I'm doing right now. I'm taking an action on my blog, on my platform. Everything necessary to attack back an eye for an eye. This is not a matter of, you don't pay back whatever. That's not, because for years of oppression, of persecution, of insult, of degrading us, of humiliating us, of assaulting us, of derailing us, of abusing the melanin people, how many times have justice been served? We are the ones that even try to, there should be integration of the races, and they expect us as the ones to be integrating with them. You offended us, you abused us, you oppressed us, you took us for slaves, you insult us, you steal from us, you jail our men. That doesn't, if our men should slap somebody now, he goes to jail for 5 years for slapping somebody. Then an albino man rapes a melanin woman, is given leniency or is under observation for 2 months. Or probably he will go to jail for maybe 2 weeks. A melanin man slaps somebody, they throw him to jail, they throw him in jail for 5 years. An albino man rapes a melanin woman, is free. And an albino man, an albino officer, any albino person kills a melanin man, a melanin person. And they deny us of justice. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. I would like to end this on this note. My deepest condolence goes to the family of George Floyd, his beautiful child, and the mother of his child. May his gentle soul rest in peace. Thank you for listening to me. I am Lady Abimbola, and as I always say at the end of my book, the greatest weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So, always face your fears, elevate your mind, and resist every temptation to panic. And I'll see you in my next blog. Take care of yourself. God bless you.